Hi, I'm Jasmine with JB Data Strategies, where I talk about practical data strategy for nonprofit fundraising operations. Today, I want to talk with you about practical ways fundraising and development operations teams can use AI in the work they are already doing. Artificial intelligence is showing up in more of the tools nonprofit organizations already use, and that has created a lot of interest in what AI may eventually be able to do for fundraising. The conversation often moves quickly towards predictive analytics, major gift forecasting, advanced donor insights, or automation. Those may become useful tools for some organizations over time, but many fundraising teams already have opportunities to use AI in practical ways within the work they're already doing today. That can include organizing institutional knowledge, improving routine documentation, and making reporting work more efficiently. It can also look like understanding shadow databases, strengthening written communication, and asking better questions about new AI features appearing in existing systems. The strongest starting point for many organizations may be to use AI to organize what the team already knows. Every nonprofit has institutional knowledge that exists primarily, usually, in people's heads. One person may remember why a report is built a certain way, another may understand why campaign codes have changed years ago, and someone else may know why a particular workflow exists even though it was never fully documented. That knowledge can become especially important when staff retire, change roles, or leave the organization. One way to capture it is to schedule a conversation on Teams, Zooms, or Google Meet with the staff member who understands that area of operation. Turn on the transcription setting in your meeting and ask them to walk through the process in plain language. The conversation might cover how a report is built, what certain campaign or appeal codes mean, and how a workflow has changed over time. It could also include which fields staff trusts, where confusion tends to happen, and what someone would need to understand before making changes. Once the meeting is over, the transcript can be downloaded, brought into an approved AI tool, and organized into something easier to review. That might include a summary of the current process, historical context, and a list of open questions. It could also produce a first draft of a one-page procedure or separate the information into categories, such as what is confirmed, what needs clarification, and what still requires a decision. This gives the team a clear way to move important knowledge out of one person's memory and into documentation that others can review and use. Many nonprofit organizations are starting from rough materials rather than polished policies and procedures. They may have handwritten notes, old emails, meeting transcripts, shared documents, and instructions that may have accumulated over many years. AI can help turn those materials into clearer first drafts. For example, a team might ask it to create a simple digital procedure for a recurring process. That procedure could explain the purpose of the process, when it is used, who's responsible, the major steps involved, and any review or approval that is typically needed. As the team reviews those drafts, they may discover that different staff members are following different versions of the same process. They may also find that an important step was never documented or that a workaround gradually became standard practice without anyone formally reviewing it. Those discoveries are useful because they give the team an opportunity to clarify the process and decide what should be documented going forward. Over time, those one page procedures can become a digital library of organizational knowledge. They can be stored in an organized shared drive folder, grouped by area, and made accessible to staff who need them. Once the team begins documenting individual processes, it may be helpful also to create a simple inventory of what already exists. That inventory can be a spreadsheet or a shared tracker that lists each policy or procedure, who owns it, when it was last reviewed, and where it is stored. AI can help group related materials into categories such as gift processing, campaign setup, reporting, stewardship, events, donor records, and data management. It can also help identify duplicate documents, outdated instructions, missing procedures, and informal practices that have never been written. That gives the organization a clear view of its current documentation and helps staff see which areas need attention first. Another important area is Excel based reporting. Many development operations teams spend a significant amount of time working with spreadsheets, whether the data comes from a CRM, export, a finance system, or another reporting source. AI can support that work in several ways. A staff member might use it to troubleshoot a formula that's not working correctly or explain a formula in an inherited workbook. It could also suggest a more efficient formula, help build or troubleshoot a pivot table, or recommend a chart that communicates the results more clearly. Another use would be documenting what a complicated workbook is doing so that the process is easier for someone else to follow. A team could also ask AI to help simplify a report that has grown more complicated over time or organize repeated reporting steps into a clear workflow. These kinds of questions can save time, especially when the person responsible for the reporting is working through a technical issue alone. The quality of the results still depend on the quality of the data and the clarity of the questions being asked. Someone who understands the report the source, someone who understands the report, the source data, and the fundraising context should review any formula, chart, or interpretation before it is used. Shadow databases are another important area. Many fundraising teams maintain spreadsheets or side systems outside of the CRM, and that's separate from the reports that I just spoke about. These may track grants, stewardship activity, campaign work, board giving, prospects, or other information that staff feel the CRM doesn't currently support well. Those files usually exist because someone was trying to solve a real operational problem. AI can help the team begin to understand what those files are doing. A good starting point might be a blank version of the file, the column headers, or a sanitized sample. From there, AI can summarize what the spreadsheet appears to track, group similar fields, and flag areas where the naming is unclear. It can also identify possible overlap with CRM fields and help prepare questions for the staff member who maintains the file. Those questions may focus on how the spreadsheet is used, how often it's updated, and which decisions depend on it. The team may also want to understand whether the same information appears in the CRM and how the file affects reporting, stewardship, events, grants, or donor management. That review creates an opportunity to look at the broader workflow and decide whether the file should remain separate, be cleaned up, move into the CRM, or be retired. It also creates an opportunity to educate staff about sensitive donor information. Some files may contain donor names, contact information, giving history, confidential notes, or other details that should remain in approved systems with the right permissions and controls. Using a shadow database, Using a shadow database review as a staff education moment can strengthen both data practices and privacy awareness. AI can also support routine fundraising communication. A useful place to start is with approved source material, such as existing language about the organization's mission, programs, impact, funding priorities, and values. From there, AI can help create first drafts for donor emails, stewardship messages, board updates, funder communication, or internal summaries. It can also help build a language bank that gives staff approved wording they can return to when drafting similar messages in the future. That can be especially helpful for teams that spend a lot of time starting from scratch, searching through old documents for language they know has already been reviewed and or approved. Meeting summaries. Meeting summaries are another area where AI can help. A transcript or a set of notes can be organized into action items, decisions, follow up questions, and next steps. That gives staff a clearer record of what happened and reduces the amount of time spent writing notes and rewriting notes after the meeting. AI can also help with explaining verified campaign results in plain language. For example, a development operations team may already have completed a report or dashboard with numbers that have been reviewed. AI can help turn that information into a clearer summary for leadership, a board update, or an internal discussion. The source information still needs to be accurate, and the final explanation should be reviewed by someone who understands how the report was built and what the numbers actually mean. Software companies are also continuing to add AI to features, and they're adding more features to systems fundraising teams already use. Some features may already be turned on, while others may be appearing as optional add ons, new buttons, automated summaries, recommendations, or reporting tools. Development operations teams need enough information to understand those features and how they fit into existing data workflows, permissions, data practices, and review processes. AI can help prepare a focused set of questions before a vendor conversation, product update, or internal rollout. Those questions might cover where the feature gets its data, who can access it, and whether the organization can limit, configure, or disable it. The team may also need to understand what kind of output the feature produces. That can include summaries, scores, suggestions, or recommendations. The question may focus on whether staff can see how the output was produced, whether it can be corrected or overridden, and whether an audit trail exists. The team may also want to ask whether organizational data is used to train or improve the product, and whether the feature changes any existing responsibilities or workflows. These questions give development operations and fundraising leaders a clearer basis for deciding how the feature should be used and what internal guidance may be needed. A few clear guardrails should remain part of all of this work. The team should understand which AI tools are approved for organizational use and what kind of information can be entered into them. Sensitive donor information deserves careful handling, especially when the work involves names, contact information, giving history, confidential notes, or financial details. Human review should remain part of the process because a polished AI output can still contain errors, miss important context, or present outdated information as if it were current. Development operations should stay involved when the workflow touches CRM data, reporting, coding, permissions, workflows, or system decisions. Fundraising and program staff also bring important context about the donor relationship, the audience, and the purpose of communication. Clear review responsibilities help teams use AI more consistently and catch problems before an output is shared, adopted, or built into a routine process. There are many useful ways fundraising and development operations teams can begin using AI today. It can help capture institutional knowledge, turn rough materials into usable documents, and strengthen Excel based reporting. It can also help teams understand shadow databases, support routine communication, and prepare better questions about new software features. These uses connect directly to work teams are already doing. They can improve efficiency, create more clarity, and help organizations make stronger decisions about how AI fits into their fundraising operations. The Nonprofit AI Readiness Checklist is linked below as an optional resource for teams that want a broader way to review their systems, documentation, workflows, and decision points. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to JB Data Strategies for practical conversations about nonprofit fundraising operations, CRM strategy, reporting, data governance, and development operations. I will see you next time.